Hey, what's going on, guys? T-Bone here with Magic Misfits. Today we're doing some more research in deck development on this Monday in May. This video is for all of our new EDH players, home brewers. Uh, we're just going to be going over the basics. So, what do you need to make a good EDH deck on your own? If you're tired of buying those pre-con decks, or maybe you just want to spice up your pre-con deck. Hopefully the information we're going to give you here will help you out. So some of these things I'm going to say, opinions, everybody's got their own. So hopefully I don't trigger any of you guys, because I don't care. It's an opinion. But if you want to fight about it, we can fight in the comments, internet warriors, all you guys rise against with some of these opinions that I have about brewing at home. So we've got some guys in our group, our fellow misfits that we play with. They're venturing off into the vast expanse of deck building. I'm seeing some flaws in their construction. A guy that we play with is playing Baronauer. Everybody knows rats are annoying. He should probably just burn it. I mean, that's probably the best thing to do. So, yeah, we should probably just tell him to do that. So, if you're watching this, you should just burn your rat deck. It's only good in 1v1. It's not a multiplayer deck, so it's garbage. Anyways, so what you need to first figure out is, are you going to be playing 1v1, or are you going to be playing multiplayer? It's a big difference. Very few decks can play in both and be somewhat competitive or fun. But alright, first things first. So, a little acronym I made up off the top of my head today is gonna be warranted. WARRANTED. It's a long acronym, I know. But here it goes. So your W is going to stand for your win cons. Your win cons are going to be things like Laboratory Maniac, Helix Pinnacle, Approach of the Second Sun, Biovisionary, kicked with the Right of Replication. Right of Replication is actually what you're going to kick. And then the all-annoying Sanguine Bond, Exquisite Blood combo, ping someone for 1 life and go infinitely and drain everybody's life. It's a really fun combo. Not really. And then for the green decks out there, Craterhoof Behemoth. He's a huge, big monster that's going to kick down the doors or trample over with all the rest of your creatures into your enemies. So next is A. That's for abilities. So this is more for creature abilities that affect the board in your favor. Giving your stuff hexproof or flying, or making it so you draw cards whenever you deal damage, stuff like that. Just good creature abilities that help progress your deck. So next we got removal. Removal is always huge. You got your hard removal for things that are already on the board, and then you've got your instant speed removals like counter spells and stuff like that. Some may say it's not the same, but yeah, so board wipes, exiles, all that stuff. Next, you got your mana rocks. So for that one, it's the R in warranted. It's going to be rocks. So mana rocks, Soul Ring, Felwar Stone, Dreamstone, Hedron, those things. Those always accelerate your deck, help you out. Which goes into our next thing, is accelerators. I guess you could kind of say they're one and the same, but in this category, I said things like mana ramp, card draw. So mana ramp's going to be, search for lands. Your Solemn Simiclarum, he can go in any deck, and he'll search for a land, and then he dies, and you draw a card. So he's one of maybe the ultimate all-time accelerators for Commander. Changed my mind. No. And then we got neutralizers. So neutralizers is something that I kind of just came up with. You could probably categorize it in other things, but this is going to be things like, overwhelming splendor, Iona, take out those monocolor decks. Overloaded Cyclonic Rift, game changer. Drop the mic on them. It just completely changes the nature of the game and puts you ahead of everybody else or whoever you're playing against. Next is tutors. So everybody always thinks tutors, oh, black tutors. No, there's creatures that tutor, instants, sorceries, enchantments that let you search for what you need. And all of these are, in different colors, so you're not always going to find one for the color you're playing with, but maybe it's something you can build around. Next, you got evasion. So evasion is for yourself, for your creatures, everything. So it's going to be like your protection from colors. What the? Anyways, protection from colors, protection from creatures, protection. People can't play spells against you, hexproof for you and your creatures, and then also just for your attackers and stuff like that. So like menace, flying, skulk. Those abilities and those just abilities that push your creatures in the game to help you keep your board state alive. Next and finally the last thing for this long acronym is defense. So defense, I like to categorize this as cards that tax your opponents. So crawl space, void winnower, grand abolisher, one of my all-time favorite white cards. Nothing better than telling somebody that they can't activate abilities or cast spells on your turn. It totally protects you. It's super good. Of course, void winnower is really good, but anyways, if you're making your first homebrew, I recommend sticking with like a mono or dual colored commander. Reason being is when you get into those 3, 4, 5 color commanders, you have to start shelling out some cash for a more expensive land base with the fetch lands, the pain lands, shock lands. If you have a budget, your budget is going to be spent on all those lands essentially. So you can just run basics, run basic lands, get yourself a chromatic lantern, mana rocks like Darksteel. This cough is going to kill me. Darksteel ingot, that tap for any color. Now this is where I may trigger some people, so be ready. Don't worry about your converted mana cost. So some decks run low converted mana cost because your goal is to just outpace everybody with these low cost creatures and swing for the fences. And then there's your large converted mana cost type decks. You obviously want to have something balanced, but I've had decks where I run all low stuff, all high stuff, kind of a little bit, but don't sit there and take too much time and think about like, oh man, I need to make sure I have 4 to 5 3-cost spells. Like that shit doesn't matter. So for a good example, so I used to run Azuri Claw of Progress. It was proliferate little weenie saplings and this and that just got huge and overran everybody. I had like 34 to 36 lands, only a few 5 converted mana costs or greater finishers. Crater of Behemoth was in there, obviously. But then I had my favorite 4 CMC win con, Triumph for the Hordes. Give your creatures Trample and Infect. What's better than Trample and Infect? Potentially kill everybody in one swing. Now, another good thing about Azuri was he was a 4 CMC commander, so with blue and green, you can ramp into a 2 or 4 second or fourth turn Azuri coming out, and then you've got so many low cost creatures. You're building up those experience counters, and when you go to combat, you're gonna be able to, pump them up one creature, give it +1/+1 for every experience counter. So you can make these little weenie guys that cost you 1, 2, 3 mana into these big creatures that normally cost you like 5, 6 CMC, so it didn't really matter in that deck. And then there's other decks like that, like Krenko Mob Boss. You could basically run your whole deck with 5 lands. As long as you can get to that Eldrazi Monument after you have like 1,000 goblins. But anyways, now I'm not saying go ahead and just put 5 plus CMC cards and don't run low CMC cards, because you might not make it through the first couple opening rounds if you get mana screwed. But that's why you really have to focus on your mana base and what you think you're going to need for the deck that you're running. But you don't need to do any fancy calculations like, oh, if I run 5 CMC cards, I need to have 40 lands. No, you don't need to do that. Just think about what you prefer. So like I said, do you want to run 40 lands or do you want to cut down? Because like I said, with Azuri, I was running like 34, 36 lands. My Krenko deck was running like 32 lands. But then again, if you're running something like Omnath, Locust of Rage, he's going to be like, I would say, a higher land base deck, just because he cost 7 to come out, and but he's a game changer. So once he's on the field and you start dropping all your spells to search for lands and putting lands out for free and more than 1 land per turn, you're making all these 5/5s. Hopefully you have some haste and trample enablers in there, and it's just going to get nasty. There's hundreds of legendary creatures to choose from, and all of these commanders are different abilities. You got 5 different colors to choose from. You could just build one color, a monocolor EDH deck, dual color, tricolor, whatever you want to build. But ultimately, I would say try to stick with mono or dual colored if you're just starting out. It's just going to be a lot easier for you. Maybe you don't have the cards to build something like a Wubbiger, Joda, the Eternal deck or something like that. But if you do pick up a precon, those are pretty good starters usually. So just pick you one up and then build from there. I mean, it's not a bad way to do it, but if you're building from the beginning, just remember, don't ever play rats, because you'll just get hated off the table. Or don't ever play like what's that demon? You'll know what I'm talking about. You know who you are. But yeah, just be careful with what kind of commander you run, because any experienced player is going to know, like, oh man, he's running fucking random commander, just some Kalia the Vast, right? So he or she's running Kalia the Vast. They're gonna go for you. They're gonna take you out. So maybe try and sneak something, in there that's less threatening. But ultimately, have fun. Come on, let me get something to drink here. Anyways, so just have fun. And as always, stay classy, stir it up out there. You never know when you're going to stumble upon a surprisingly lethal deck or just something fun to play. And then, as I've told many people before, and as you've read on our Facebook page, Primal Surge Grun is a tier 1 commander. Changed my mind.